What's up? We're going to be talking about Fabiano Caruana today, and we're going to be talking about the pro tips that he can give us in the games. And we are going back in time, all the way back in 2014 when he won in a miraculous way the Sinkfield Cup tournament that the St. Louis Chess Club was commentated on. And that was actually the first tournament that I seen online. I was like, wow, we can watch this online for free because it was on YouTube. And so we're going to be going over two games. The first game that we're going to be going over is the one Fabiano Caruana against Topalov, and then the second game, which he was the black pieces in both games, and he was winning in under 40 moves. Let's continue. It's crazy. It's crazy, and we're gonna be doing a little bit. We're gonna be doing a lot of content, so get ready for that too. So we got this game by Fabiano Caruana, and we are gonna be the black pieces here, and we're gonna just. I'm just gonna show you what happened here because this was back in 2014, one of the most important games. I thought he was going to be world champion after this tournament. And I still do believe that he is one of the best classical chess players in the world, all right? And you're going to see it based off of these games. And these were classical games. These wasn't blitz, these wasn't rapid games. These were classical, like a few hour long games. Let's continue. So we got this first move. Knight to f3, knight to f6, and then c4. So I thought it was going to be a boring game when I was watching this live. And this was a tournament that I was a teenager. I had a lot of time to watch this live. Yasser Seirawan doing the best commentary ever. And I thought that this was going to be a boring game. Well, let's continue on. So we got this move d5, and this is just English opening preparation. This is English opening theory. And as we continued here, we're developing pieces. We got the pawn in the center. We got like somewhat of a Maroczy bond structure. We got the move rook b8 to maybe do the move b5 in the future, but not too quickly because, or it could just be to get this rook out the diagonal. And so after that, we have a d3, bishop e7, castle kingside, and now we're in the middle game. And we got the first initial move, knight to d2. Where is Topalov going to be putting this knight? Well, he's probably going to be rerouting this knight somewhere to these three squares because that knight can't stay right there. It's trash right there. And so Fabiano Caruana was trying to figure this out. Knight to d4 was played. Putting that knight, plopping it right in the center. If this bishop captures, that's just going to be bad because Fabiano Caruana is going to have the two bishop advantage. And then we got this next move, which was knight to c4. After knight to c4, f6, playing this like a Maroczy bond, and then now Topalov is trying to topple off the center pawn chain on e5 here. This center pawn chain on this diagonal. What if Fabiano Caruana do? Just take it, take back, and then knight to e6. Right here is pretty balanced. And right here, I was like, man, Topalov got the most comfortable position ever. Even though the knight is attacking the bishop on f4 right now, it seems like they have more space, they have more initiative, they have more activity. But something happens here that was weird. The bishop moves back. We got the move b6. And even though this bishop on g2 is controlling the whole diagonal, which is crazy, it's controlling the whole diagonal, it's not really doing anything. And let me make this chessboard bigger. It's not really doing anything, right? What is it really doing on that diagonal? And Caruana made that diagonal pretty useless. And as we continue, and then plus two, did y'all see this last move, g4? Wasn't that a weird move to do? And I know grandmasters, they have to do extra to try to like provoke something, try to provoke a weakness against their elite grandmaster friends. And so Topalov was like, I'm going to do g4 and maybe do g5 and have some massive attack on the king side. And plus, I have the center pawn, so I should have more leeway on conquering the center than you. Fabiano Caruana rerouted the bishop because that bishop was trash at that square and was blocking the queen on d8. And so we got some finessing going on here. And then we got the move b5. Where's that knight going to go? It's going to go to e3. Bishop d6. Because now that bishop on d6 is attacking this pawn right here. So this is a threat that Topalov is going to have to guard against. This sacrifice could happen at any moment. But not now because the activity is just not there for Fabiano Caruana. And when you look at his pieces, they seem pretty cramped. But the last few moves by Vesselin Topalov seemed pretty unusual too. And their pieces are pretty awkward. The coordination is not there. as the game went on, now we got this move knight to f5. And black is winning here, weirdly enough. And I think it's because of this move g4 that's not really okay with the evaluation here. And so Fabiano Caruana kept on playing, bishop e5. And Fabiano have these checks right here. And this queen is attacking this bishop. The threats just keep on rolling off after this game because we got this move. Bishop e5, queen d2, knight to d4. And then after trading those bishops, then we have this move, knight takes on f5. And yes, this position is hard to defend for the white pieces, and now it's completely changed up. And grandmasters do this all the time, and I will be giving tips. When you're in a cramped position, trade pieces. If you are in an uncomfortable position where your pieces can only move one square at a time, reorganize them into more active squares. And if you can't, trade your less active pieces with your opponent's active pieces. Because, okay, this position was active for the opponent. Fabiano Caruana was like, not anymore, with the move knight to d4, and we're just going to trade off those pieces. And now we got the active pieces. So remember that. Queen d4, checking the king. And that king is very vulnerable right now. I would not want to be that king. I don't like a lot of checks hovering around my king. And Topalov is going to have to deal with defending this position for the rest of the game. And he didn't do it successfully either. And this might already be kind of losing. This is hard to defend. Look at these moves that is coming right now. If D takes on c4, which doesn't happen here, but if D takes on c4, B takes on c4, that rook is going to be super active. The queen could take back. He can do whatever he wants in this position. And then we got this move, rook to e8. After rook to e8, capture. Not even worrying about the queen side anymore, but doing the move, queen to h5, threatening checkmate on h2. And I forgot to do something actually, so let me... Oh no! I think we're almost here. Okay, so we got this move, queen to h5, threatening checkmate on the h2 square. Topalov did the move h4. And when you have to push more pawns in front of your king, you know you're in a bad position, all right? Because you have to sacrifice these principles that we all live by just to defend. And what did Fabiano Caruana do? Just make the pieces more active. Queen g5. Threatening queen h3. This, even if this rook goes here, queen h3, checkmate. And so after queen d3, B takes on c4, queen here, double up on the same file as their opponent, as the opponent's queen. What are they going to do? If the queen moves, then this position is already done. If the queen moves, then this queen is definitely going to be taking this pawn. And then if you try to trade queens with the move queen f3, queen captures, pawn captures, that is a losing endgame, especially after bishop captures on b2. So Topalov decided to move the pawn that was being attacked by that bishop, which Fabiano Caruana decided to go there anyway. We're attacking the queen. We're attacking this pawn. This pawn is going to be gone pretty soon. This rook is attacking the queen. This is done deal. All right. So this next game that happened here, and we're going to be going back. This next game that happened here was by Fabiano Caruana, and then it was going against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. So we got the move d4, d5, and then we got this queen's gambit decline. And what happened here was this bishop f4 variation, and then we're going to get into like the middle game right quick. This is a good opening for anybody that plays the queen's gambit decline. So I would definitely use that. But we are more trying to pay attention to the middle game that happened. And so this is the middle game. Let's just decide that this was the middle game, right? Even though the opponent's king isn't castled yet. Fabiano Caruana was like, okay, I don't like your bishop being there, so I'm going to trade my less qualified bishop with your bishop. Even though, I don't know, this bishop on c8 seemed more or less qualified than this bishop. But that bishop on e5 was pretty powerful. We're going to trade that. And then to get that bishop out, Caruana was like, okay, I seen this ahead of time. And white couldn't do this move f4, right? Because after f4, queen h4 is just losing. Knight e2, e5. e5 threatening this pawn structure, this pawn chain along this diagonal, along this a7 to f2 diagonal. And after queen a4, queen h4 still attacking this f7 pawn. And dude, if this pawn was right here, that attack on that f2 pawn will be relentless. White started to push pawns in front of their king just a little bit. And then you're wondering, where's that king gonna go? Is it gonna castle? It's not gonna castle now because it's too late. Look, all my pieces already surrounding that king if it castles kingside. And this f4 push is gonna blow everything up. And so Caruana just did a simple move, queen g4. What are you gonna do now? My queen is on a safe square. Are you gonna keep on pushing pawns in front of your, not in front of your king, not exactly, but on your king side? Is your king gonna stay in the middle or is it not? It's still a balanced position, but Maxime's position is harder to defend than Black's position. Rook f1, very committal, and there's not a lot to do here, but just sit there and wait and figure out what Fabiano Caruana is going to do next here. As we continue on with the game, it just gets crazy because all these light squares are pretty weak now, and Maxime is just defending the whole entire game, and they just started running away with their king, and Fabiano Caruana took a pawn, started taking material, just in case they get into an endgame. You want the endgame to be winning still. You want any move that you play to still be winning if you're attacking your opponent, all right? You don't want to just leave off with nothing and then you're down in material. You better have checkmate on a horizon if you're going to be down in material attacking your opponent. And that's what Fabiano Caruana did. And so after D takes on e5, we got this fork here. Well, kind of a fork, but this queen is attacking both of these pawns. This queen is going to have to keep on protecting that pawn because that king needs that pawn to be protected. Knight to d4, knight takes on d5, and this is still kind of questionable, especially with this move, b6. Exclamation mark, all right? If I'm looking at this correctly, we've got this move c5. After c5, let's try to move this knight. And then we got this move bishop b7. A takes on b6 is a threat now. If pawn takes just regularly, we have more activity. And we can just keep on attacking the king. Just look at this. It's amazing. All right? And that was the sacrifice that Fabiano Caruana thought about himself. All right? But that didn't happen. Actually, that did happen. C takes on b6. c5. Knight to b5. So we got this next move, b6. Exclamation mark. And then after that, we got C takes on b6, c5, knight b5, bishop b7. B takes on a7, d4, E takes on d4, knight takes, and then that king is still in the center right now. To this day. Is it going to be attacked? Is it going to be checkmated in the center? Let's figure it out. So we got bishop taking on h1, get that material. But if rook takes back the bishop, we got this fork right here. And so there are still tactics in the air, and that's when you know, when there's just random tactics in the position, that's when you know the opponent is losing. So after taking that pawn, attack the king just kept on running. I don't even know why Maxime kept on playing this game. Maybe he thought that his opponent would run out of time, maybe. I'm not looking at the time right now, but maybe he thought that his opponent is just going to blunder this position. But in this tournament, most of them, not pretty much all of them, were elite grandmasters, over 2750 in rating. I might be wrong on that, but, you know, just double check me in the comments. Tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm right. A5, A4, bishop takes on B5, and then we have this annihilation of our opponent here. Not only that, we're up a rook. They thought that these pawns was just going to come in for them, right? Because if white gets one pawn promoted, then that's good. This queen wouldn't matter if this pawn could get promoted. But now we got this pin right here. The opponent's still trying to survive in this because if rook takes, A takes on b6, and maybe that's a little bit questionable for the Fabiano Caruana to do. And so that's why they decided to do something else, which check the king. And then we got this move. And after this, white resigned. White resigned because of if king goes back, queen d3, rook a to d8. And after rook a to d8, rook takes queen now. And after rook takes queen, we can stop all those pawns with the move queen e4. And then let's say even this happens, right? Let's say this happens. Rook d7, king a6, queen takes on c6. And those pawns aren't going anywhere. This rook and this queen is stopping all the threats, all the initiative that white thought that they had. And Fabiano Caruana was really good at this. He was really good at attacking. He was really good at defending. And another, is that a B? But another thing, he was really good at being prepared to go against his opponents. He was really good at knowing the openings that he wanted to do to get into good positions against his opponent. You can even realize that, just think about the Magnus Carlsen versus Fabiano Caruana tournament, the World Chess Championship. Magnus Carlsen couldn't even crack him, even though in those positions, yeah, there were options, there were like weaknesses that both of the players did, but none of them could get a win. Yeah, Fabiano Caruana is a GOAT, and we're going to be talking about more players just like him in the future.